body language expert, but I can tell you this, just going by the pictures and the feel of it, that all of these three individuals are trying to send a message. This seems deliberate. And look at the, the smiles on their faces, and the interpreters have made a huddle around the leaders, trying their best to, not miss a moment. Sean, Peter Navarro will think of this as three people in bed together.
Absolutely, and he's wrong, right? I mean, Russia and China were not particularly close 8 or 9 years ago, but because of American imperialism, they've really forced both countries to come together. When you weaponize SWIFT, when you weaponize the US dollar, and you confiscate all of Russian assets, and you launch tariffs on China, both countries naturally come together as a matter of national security. And I see that exact same thing happening between China and India right now. I know, your other panelists said that you want to have China and India be a bilateral relationship that started improving last October. But I think, let's be pragmatic. From an area of national security, an area of economic strength for both countries need to work together in order to push off the United States in the exact same way that America forced Russia and China to get closer. That's what I expect to happen in the coming months. And I think what you said, the people-to-people exchanges. We've been talking with Indians who arrived in China, really the first time in 5-6 years, because there have been no direct flights and no visas. When the Indians see how innovative China has become, they start to realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of products and services that India can buy from China, but there's also a lot of products and services that China can buy from India, and most importantly, a lot of these innovative NEV companies, solar panel companies, mobile phone companies can invest in India and create jobs in India. I'm very hopeful over the next 3 to 6 months that we're going to see some big deals signed. Today is a great day to just start the conversations going forward.
Well, Sean, on a lighter note, all the products that the Chinese manufacture are welcome here, but I just have one request. If you could convey it or, maybe amplify, stop marketing Pakistani products, because Pakistan stands for terror, and it just comes in the way of India-China relationship and the beautiful people-to-people contact traditionally that two civilizational states have had. That's all.
Mr. Next time I'm on your show, I'm there in person. I've never been to India. I'm embarrassed. I haven't been able to travel there for 5 years. Please invite me, and I'll come tomorrow to your studio.
Thank you, Sean. Look forward to having you here someday. Very, gracious of you to have said that. Mr. Ma, what do you make of these pictures? The members are all set to begin the SCO Summit.
Well, I think it's definitely quite a success for diplomacy this time. In China, we call it host diplomacy, or English maybe it's like diplomacy on home ground. So China has been organizing these things for the past couple of years and really bringing country, particularly from the global south country, to address issues that concern both of us. I agree completely with our panelists just said. China, India, even with Russia, we have a lot of things to discuss. But I wouldn't really make this picture such a tremendous thing, because we should remember that just a couple of weeks ago, Putin and Donald Trump actually met in Alaska, right? And also Modi actually visited Washington, D.C. But since Trump's second inauguration, President Xi Jinping and Trump haven't been meeting. So I think that's also in the top agenda for Chinese diplomat, that definitely China and the U.S. should also work together directly with some issues. So I think this is definitely a milestone. It's good for, as you say, the picture in the front page, but let's just say that China wants to build a good relationship with all other countries in the whole world, particularly with neighboring countries. So I would think this is a start, and there are more things coming.
Okay, so there are more things coming?
Ranesh, the important thing to note, we all looked at the huddle. We were all impressed by the huddle. We all liked what was going on. But the question I have is in the middle of all this. Where is Shehbaz Sharif? Missing in action.
Must be watching from the sidelines. Mr. Sajjanar?
Yes. You know, Sinjoy, you mentioned that Peter Navarro is going to be a footnote in future history books. I thought you were giving him too much credit. I don't think he will find mention even there. But as far as Mr. Shehbaz Sharif is concerned, he is not even a footnote in his own country. When Mr. Trump receives Asim Munir in the White House for lunch. You know, the information minister of Pakistan is made to wait outside in the waiting room. He doesn't come into the room, or the Pakistan ambassador to the United States doesn't come. So, you know, as far as the civilian government, we have known it. We in India have known it all along. The world possibly has not known it, that it is the army that calls the shots. The civilian government does not stand for anything at all.
You're absolutely right.
It's quite visible.
Swati, the meeting is about to begin, but before that, we had a moment with these three leaders in in what looks like a huddle, exchanging greetings, smiling.
Absolutely. You know, that's the troika that people ruled out. They called Russia, India, China a closed chapter, but those visuals of handshakes and smiles and a little conversation before the plenary session is the image of revival of the RIC. The RIC that was envisioned as a strategic counter to the dominance of United States of America in a unipolar world. It's the revival of the troika, and Moscow wants it more than anyone else to strengthen this alliance, to strengthen this relationship, because Moscow wants to use it as a shield against political isolation and economic isolation. And Srinjoy Chaudhary asked a question. He said, where was Shehbaz Sharif? I'm being told, given the visuals that are coming in, that he walked right past Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the President of Russia, Mr. Vladimir Putin, when they were talking, and he was literally sideline. So clearly, Pranesh, he was watching from the sideline.
But Sharif must be in his bed waiting for a phone call from General Munir to tell him about his next assignment. Who knows? That is how Pakistanis, at least the Pakistani Prime Minister behaves. He's nothing more than a puppet at the hand of the military ruler there. Prabhu Dayal is also joining the broadcast now. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Colonel Arasen stays on. Colonel Arasen, very quickly, when you see images like these, what must be going through in the mind of Donald Trump?
No, it's in these fractious times, I think it is quite a statement. A collection of powers convened by China. So it's a very, very powerful statement. The visuals that that are emanating from Tianjin. So that should not be lost out. And one thing, let me tell you, that we are really on the cusp, of a big geopolitical churning. Why I am saying so? Remember, this is the third industrial revolution, which is being powered by rare earth and critical minerals, on which China has a monopoly. How did you create the petrodollars? Wasn't it all because of that second industrial revolution was powered by oil? So that is how Americans, they created the petrodollars. They had a stranglehold over many West Asian countries, Saudi Arabia, etc. So this is we are on the cusp of a big change. Let not this factor be lost out to us, to anybody. And as far as everybody will have to do business with China, as long as they enjoy monopoly over the rare earth and critical minerals. Can you have a electric vehicle revolution or clean energy, without having the rare earth? So at least for next decade or so, the Chinese are going to continue with this monopoly. You like it or not. So what he is saying, Mr. Peter Navarro is saying, haven't they gone in bed with the Chinese? Didn't they make a huge climb down as far as, the tariffs are concerned? Why? Because you were blackmailed. I don't know who was whose sleeping partner in that. I don't know, but the Americans yielded. So what is he being frustrated about?
Why is Trump frustrated? Let's put that to Prabhu Dayal. Sir, good morning. Good to have you back. Peter Navarro, the closest aide of Donald Trump, as he likes to call himself, has said, Modi is a great leader. I don't understand why he's getting in bed with Putin and Xi Jinping.
Well, thanks for having me on your show. I was listening to Colonel R.S.N. Singh, and he has very correctly summed up the position. He has pointed out how the U.S. has misjudged everything. Frankly speaking, what Donald Trump and his advisors have done is a colossal mistake in terms of the interests of the United States. Their aggressive tariff policies and the sort of restrictions they want to put on India purchasing oil from Russia, these have not only further cemented India's relations with Russia, but they have also had the unintended consequence of pushing India and China closer together. So faced with US antagonism, India has recalibrated its foreign policy and is working towards a closer relationship with China. And surely this has not gone unnoticed by the White House, and it would also be a cause of some anxiety. You showed the picture of Prime Minister Modi with President Xi Jinping and President Putin. Surely that would have sent ripples of anxiety in the White House. And I think sooner or later, sense should dawn on them that it is they who have made the mistake and have completely alienated India and are in danger of working towards a closer relationship between India and China, which is not going to be in the interest of the United States of America.
And it's not just about alienating India. The bigger trouble is about this sense of damage that, narrative and statements like these do to Indo-US ties. The ties are not made overnight, but look at the kind of damage that it does when you have a motor mouth like Peter Navarro, or whatever his name is, talk utter nonsense. Swati, if you can hear me, the leaders are seated there. We are all set to have the SCO Summit begin officially, and all eyes are on what the Prime Minister will say in his opening remarks.
Absolutely, Pradesh. In fact, there's a big screen put here in the International Media Center, and I'd ask the camera person to just pan the camera around and show you the mood here. Everybody looking towards the screen. There you see on the screen the Chinese President at the moment addressing, and up next is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Very soon we'll hear the Prime Minister of India address the plenary session. That's the big screen for you, and look at the mood around. Let's just pan the camera a little bit. Let's show how everybody is looking towards the screen. Now, in this particular room from where I'm reporting, there's a presence of media personnel from across the world, especially, of course, the Indian, Russian and Chinese media personnel are watching every development here. Every conversation that is taking place, very carefully reporting on them, about the bilateral relations, about the conversation that is taking place between especially these three leaders, the Chinese President Xi Jinping, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. So all eyes now on the big screen here, waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address the plenary session.
In one frame, I also spotted Shahbaz Sharif, not looking too happy, Sinjoy?
Yes, he was looking very sorry for himself, like he sort of wandered into a room where he was not wanted. It was that kind of look you saw in him. And perhaps he's right, because you saw that huddle between the Russian president, the Chinese leader and Prime Minister Modi. And very clearly, Shahbaz Sharif was out of it. Here is someone who is there because he just has to be there and he is not really wanted.
Ambassador Dayal?
Well, Shehbaz Sharif, in any case, doesn't call the shots in Pakistan. It is Asim Munir. Shehbaz Sharif is just the front to show as if Pakistan is a democracy. But everybody knows the reality of Pakistan. It is a state which is entirely run by the armed forces, and the armed forces have cozied up to the United States. In fact, this luncheon meeting, which was a close huddle between Trump and Asim Munir, couldn't have gone unnoticed in China. So the fact remains that while Pakistan and China have a deeply entrenched relationship, and China has been supportive of Pakistan in a variety of ways, the recent warming up of the relationship between Pakistan and the United States couldn't have gone unnoticed in China, and surely it will impact the relationship in some way or the other.
Abhijit Iyer Mitra now joining the broadcast. Abhijit, good morning. I want to start off by asking you, in fact, I want to tell you, if you haven't seen the post already, Peter Navarro says, Modi is a great leader. I don't understand why he's getting in bed with Putin and Xi Jinping. And then he ends by saying, we've got Brahmin people profiting at the expense of Indian people. We need that to stop. So we now have a new caste analyst. Maybe we can hire him for the elections in Bihar.
So, Pranesh, the thing is very simple. According to the same caste people were apparently Ukrainians who invaded the brown native savages on horseback 3,500 years back. So, it is our homeland also. But that said, America being such a great democracy, I'm shocked at the way, Trump is mollycoddling Putin. Why invite him to Alaska? That is also democracy, na? Trump is refusing to impose sanctions on China, so why is he mollycoddling China? They are very quick to impose sanctions on India, but India isn't the biggest buyer of Russian oil. That is China. That is entirely China. In fact, China is the biggest buyer of gas, and they buy gas at a much lower price than Europe did. So, these are things. Peter Navarro, maybe he's learnt economics somewhere, but I think it really shows you the very poor standards of a Harvard education, that somebody is given an economics degree without understanding basic humanities, international relations, shooting his mouth off. Personally, I feel he's actually been hired by Trump to do the trash talking on the side. Remember, the Americans do a lot of trash talking every now and then. It's not unique to the Trump government. The Americans do it in general. And he's doing this just to stir the pot and keep the troops, riled up. I also want to point out, Pranesh, the fact of the latest polling that came out yesterday that shows that Trump mishandled the Epstein files, and nobody believes the official Epstein files report, that it has been covered up. Now, that being the case, if you look at these polls and the results coming out from what the results of Navarro's tweets and things, there seems to be a great correlation. So, with all due respect, I'm not taking Mr. Navarro terribly seriously.
But why are you blaming Harvard for, likes of Navarro? Not Harvard's fault that he's turned out like this.
Of course it is. It's very much Harvard's fault. How do you go around giving somebody an economics degree who doesn't understand basic international trade?
Okay. Sinjoy, you want to say something?
Yes, there are. Well, for all its faults, of the 1,000-odd people who won the Nobel Prize or have been awarded the Nobel Prize, 160 have come from Harvard, more than any other university in the world. So we can't really blame Harvard for the fact that Mr. Navarro has put his foot on this large banana peel. His Brahmin remark was the biggest banana peel that you can imagine, and he's put his foot right on it. Now what's going to happen? The cameras of the world will look at Navarro with his foot on that banana peel.
Ambassador Dayal is saying something. Yes, sir.
I have friends in Harvard and they tell me that the latest nursery rhyme going there is Trumpty Dumpty sat on a tariff wall, Trumpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the Navarros and all the Marco Rubios couldn't put Trumpty Dumpty together again. That's the nursery rhyme.
That's some note to start this your conversation on. We are waiting for the opening remarks by Prime Minister Modi. But Colonel RSN Singh, look, a day after Modi met Xi Jinping, I was just going through the commentary in American press. They are not too pleased. And I'm not surprised. Now, after the SCO meeting when Modi sits down with Putin, imagine the kind of reaction we will have from the Americans.
No, it is they, by their policies, who have pushed, Russians to bias towards China and India. The bias was always there. We had a fantastic relationship, a strategic partnership, as I said earlier. But when the European part of Russia gets after, Putin, what does Putin do? As I said earlier, he is bound to gravitate towards the Asian part. And that is what is happening. There cannot be a vacuum, isn't it? International politics abhors vacuum. This is the fundamental principle of, international politics. And who has created this vacuum? Joe Biden and the Europeans. Now, in all this conversation, the Europeans are not featuring in. Whatever they may say, whatever, now they may say that they don't go along with Trump on his policies on tariff, etc. But remember, they were the ones who created this situation. What if Ukraine had been admitted as a member of NATO? What would have been the next? So it is they who have created that kind of a situation. And why should we do the bidding of the West? And I said, as I said earlier, that I can see that change. A change which occurs, say, in centuries. And that change is critical minerals and rare earth. Why do you think that, Trump called Asim Munir for a lunch? Critical minerals, rare earth. So this, the entire, re-engineering, I would say, reset of the global order is taking place right in front of our eyes. Some people may not understand the gravity of this entire affair, this SCO meet. It will occur to, they'll be wiser after, say, a few years down. So, I mean, Peter Navarro, I mean, what sort of remark is this? Is he trying to get into the, is he trying to become another George Soros? It is totally George Soros mentality. Trying to, create fissures within the Indian, within the Indian society, within the Indian polity.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say this, that's a good point, Abhijit. I won't be surprised if we have a situation where Mr. Navarro gets a call to join a political yatra which is going on in Bihar. Because when Donald Trump called the Indian economy dead, you had a certain individual endorse that remark, saying, yes, the Indian economy is dead. Now, Trump said, Navarro says, only the Brahmins are benefiting. This will get him an invite to that Adhikar Yatra, the voter Adhikar Yatra that's going on. Who knows?
Well, the certain other gentleman also was a dropout from Harvard, just in case you didn't know. couldn't, even by Harvard's low standards, he couldn't meet that criteria. So in this particular case, I'm not particularly surprised. It's all the sort of, the same NGO-funded Harvard cabal that will gang up against us. I think it's only left for Mr. Tejasvi Yadav now to join Harvard as well. That might be quite good for Bihar, by the way. You do remember the father had a Harvard stamp of approval for some railway renewal plan and things like that. So you'll see there's a Harvard hand at everything. Peter Navarro's for Harvard and he keeps trash talking India. The Crown Prince went to Harvard, couldn't complete the degree. The Crown Prince's ally's dad, when railway minister, got a Harvard stamp of approval and things like that. Also, don't forget, Scott Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary, is a George Soros man. He served for almost 15 to 20 years as George Soros's, head of investment and things like that. Why are we surprised by all of this? Do we really believe that the old networks just broke down and Trump actually replaced the deep state? No, I think not. I think those networks, those talking points, they're still very much valid. And I'm very sure that these statements coming out of America, not just from Peter Navarro, other statements as well, will all be, bundled up and taken on by the opposition. That's what the opposition does. Remember, there's an opposition that went abroad and asked for foreign intervention in India, actual military intervention in India to prevent, and this wasn't with the vote chori starting up now. Remember, this was 2 years back. So, look, this is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. If the opposition feels it helps them, congratulations to them.
Ambassador Dayal, when Putin and Trump met in Alaska, Putin told Trump on his face that, look, ever since you've come to power, the business ties with America has gone up. Americans are importing more.
Yes, of course. Trump hides the truth. All his statements have to be taken with a pinch of salt. Of course, he is very hurtful when it comes to making remarks about India. And we are completely astounded that he used the term dead economy for India, when India is the fastest growing economy according to all international statistics which are available. So I'm afraid that Mr. Trump has got it all wrong. But unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any end in sight for the sort of policies which he's following against us. So I think our Prime Minister has fully realized what the gravity of the situation is. And I must point out to you that during his recent visit to Japan, he was interviewed by the largest Japanese newspaper, the Yomiuri Shimbun. And Prime Minister Modi said that given the current volatility in the world economy, it is important for India and China as two major economies to work together to bring stability to the world economic order. So we have sent out a very clear message to Trump and his team that we mean business, and if he wants to pursue a negative policy vis-a-vis India, we are prepared to take him on. We are not scared. And I think this message has gone across to the White House.
Abhijit, let's for a moment focus on this image. You can call it the most defining image of 2025, or at least of the last few days. Modi, Putin and Xi Jinping in a huddle together, sending a message to Washington and beyond.
I think the more important image is Mr. Shehbaz Sharif out there. You should focus on his face and how sad he's looking in the background out there when Putin and Modi walk and move past. But see, these images are going to cause a lot of heartburn, and I think they're largely responsible for what Peter Navarro said. Look, Modi is a very affable person. Even before Galwan happened, when, Xi Jinping came to my home state of Tamil Nadu, he was greeted very warmly. Modi has never lacked in personal warmth. He never does to people what Trump did to Zelensky in the Oval Office and things like that. The significance out here is very different. It's, these things are so contextual. Look at that body language. Right now, the images, you can see the body language. Look at Mr. Shehbaz Sharif standing out there. He's literally standing out there like a, a waiter waiting for the order for a chai le aao kind of thing right there at the moment. Fine, great. Now, they go further on to Xi Jinping. There is warmth. Now, I'm not saying the warmth actually translates into anything strategic or tactical on the ground. Maybe it's posturing. But if you accept that America is posturing to get a better deal, why shouldn't we be posturing to get a better deal as well? It behooves us, it behooves the Prime Minister of India to get the best deal for India. Not he has to do what is good for India, not what is good for America. And I want to point out that, Mr. Navarro keeps talking about democracy. They need to get on the side of democracy. What democracy, Pranesh? We are 1.4 billion people. Democracy means that 340 million people have to get behind 1.4 billion people, not the other way around. And this itself is what half of, that particular image there is what, it's half of the world's population right there on your screen. And somehow we're meant to believe that America is going to determine what global democratic whatever is in the world. Sorry, that's not the way it works. So very good. It's a snub to Trump without being a snub to Trump. We don't trash talk. I think the only people we actually trash talk in Indian diplomacy are the Pakistanis. We don't even trash talk the Chinese. So it's fine. बहुत अच्छी बात है.
Colonel Arasan? In fact, sir, before I bring you in, Swati Joshi is back with us live from Tianjin. Swati, we were talking about this image, and Abhijit is right when he says that look at that frame, when Modi and Putin are walking hand in hand, and there is Shahbaz standing like the guard, outside any monument.
Absolutely. There is going to be a meme fest that will soon start on social media, and I would say that this is the burn-all moment for Donald Trump and Shehbaz Sharif as well. The royal snub, that could be another caption if one posts that picture on social media for Shehbaz Sharif, the royal snub for him. And not even for a second does Vladimir Putin take his attention away from Prime Minister Modi, and certainly the Prime Minister will not spare any seconds to the Pakistani Prime Minister. But that talks about the kind of camaraderie that these leaders share in a formal setup as well. A few seconds for an informal chat, a quick catch-up before the plenary session begins. And that's why, it's being called the revival of the Troika. Like we were talking earlier, it was envisioned as a counter to the dominance of United States of America in a unipolar world. Of course, now all the members of the SCO are talking about a multipolar world. If Donald Trump is watching this moment, this is exactly what he did not want. But perhaps, Pranesh, don't be surprised if tomorrow Donald Trump starts claiming credit for this. He might just say, it was a well thought out strategy that I slapped sanctions on India, that I forced Russia, that I threatened China, that look, these three countries have come together, and see, I'm the one who's brokered peace between them. So don't be surprised if Donald Trump tomorrow claims that.
You're talking about this, Russia, India, China trilateral, and you're right, it was envisioned as a cornerstone of the Eurasian cooperation then, but that has lost relevance and for reasons known to, all of us. So I don't think that can be revived, but, you never say never in geopolitics, diplomacy, what have you. Ambassador Dayal, do you see that reviving?
Yes, certainly. There are indications that the RIC will revive. Of course, there are some differences between China and India which cannot be ignored. The border issue is still there. The two sides are working to resolve it. It can only be resolved through some compromise, but it remains to be seen what sort of political decisions are taken in that context. But nonetheless, there are challenges which need to be confronted immediately, and for this purpose, the revival of the RIC could be very useful, because it is important to send a message across to the United States that they are not being in a position to bully everybody. They want to bully everybody. Trump is a bully. He calls himself transactional, but he's much more than that. He is a transactional bully. Now, on the other hand, Prime Minister Modi's policy has been built around the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. He has always seen the world as one family. On the other hand, Trump is only pushing the idea of America first. He doesn't see the world as one family. So there is a fundamental contradiction between what the United States projects as its interests and what India has been projecting as its interests, which are in line with global interests. So there is no doubt that the RIC, if it gets revived, it will be a very good signal, a very good message.
Let's see what happens to that. But Swati, if I could bring you in, you've just told us that Prime Minister Modi is speaking. This is his opening remarks at the SCO meeting. Swati? Okay, we don't quite have the audio yet, but yes, the Prime Minister is speaking. We'll try and connect to Swati. Swati is there and has the live feed on a big screen in that media hall in Tianjin. And till we connect to Swati, Colonel RSN, quickly, sir, about this Russia, India, China trilateral, the RIC.
No, it very much flows out of the visuals and images that you are talking about, and if you take all the events in consideration, you see that it is these three countries which are carrying the geopolitical heft as far as this SCO Summit is concerned. So, and as you talked about Shahbaz Sharif, he's being treated like a lackey. Pakistan is being treated like a lackey. And remember, 2017, India and Pakistan got admitted into the SCO together. And look where we are and where is China's iron brother is. So it's very clear that, from all the pictures and events that we are on the driver's seat as far as the new, creation of new world order is concerned. So RIC is a very natural fallout of that. We had avoided these kind of groupings or went, deliberately slow on this, much in deference to the, strategic imperatives of the United States of America. Of course, we had congruency of interest, geopolitical and strategic interest, which continue to be so as far as Indo-Pacific strategy and Quad is concerned. But beyond that, we had tried to accommodate the Americans. And they have totally let us down. So therefore, I see the answer lies in RIC. Why should we be any more be diffident about it? And thanks to the Americans, they have pushed us into this.
Abhijit, going by the reaction that we've seen from the Americans, the knee-jerk sort of reaction, 20%, 10%, 5% throwing tariffs at us. Yeah, I can't see that clearly. What do you have?
Modi has tweeted, always a delight to meet President Putin.
There you go.
And this is the picture he's put up.
50% more?
Yeah, 50% more, maybe even 100% more. He's trolling Trump. So it's good, it's very good.
Yeah, that is what I was, asking you. Now that this picture is out and, Modi has put it out himself on social media, what do you expect Trump to write on Truth Social?
I suppose another passive-aggressive tirade. He allows Navarro to do all the talking, and he puts out all these passive-aggressive tweets. That's what we'll see more of. Look, Trump thought he was dealing with one of those, middle European countries, which when America gets upset, their leaders rock up in Washington. They have to do their Hosh Hoshanas, bend down, kowtow to the emperor and things like that. Mark Rutte has to call him daddy, Europe's daddy, etc., etc. Congratulations. He's not going to get that from India. I don't think he realizes he's not going to get that from India. And the problem is he seems to think there is this one template a cut and paste solution that can apply to all. That does not work with India. I think we've shown time and again that cut and paste solutions never go down well in India. They are never well received by the Indian government. Look at mediation. India never agrees to mediation. We're the only country on earth, I think, which has so consistently, historically, refused mediation. There was a time when we didn't have the economic power to enforce our desires. Now we do. So are we going to take a hit? Yes. Had this been just about trade, you would have found that Modi would have had a lot more maneuver room in this. It wouldn't have been bad for, Jaishankar to call up Rubio or Modi to call up Trump. Trump has muddied the waters by bringing in Kashmir, by bringing in Pakistan, by bringing in peace and Ukraine and India's foreign policy and all of that. He's made a big mistake, and he's going to realize that, his one size fits all or one solution fits all is going to boomerang very, very badly in this case.
And Mr. Ma, look at the message being sent to Donald Trump, Xi Jinping. He said that we must promote a correct historical perspective on World War II and oppose the Cold War mentality, block confrontation and bullying practices.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think this is also the theme for this SCO meeting, because don't forget about in 2 days there will be a huge parade in Beijing, invited a bunch of leaders from today's SCO meeting. By the way, Modi is missing, but we understand about this. I understand that the frame of this new access between RSC, but I wouldn't think this is what exactly China wants to present to the world, specifically to the U.S., that China, India, and Russia is forming an alliance to go against the U.S., because if you look at, we also have very good relation with Pakistan. After Wang Yi's meeting in India, he directly went to Pakistan. And also, European Union is a very important dialogue partner for China, and we have a huge trade interest to each other. And also, they are very serious about the Russian-Ukraine conflicts, and think China is trying to play a brokerage role, not try to be sided with Russia. Also, China wants to improve the relation with the U.S., particularly under Trump 2.0. And China hate to be framed as an excess of something like China, Iran, Russia, North Korea. But we're definitely, having said that, I think China would like very much to strengthen relation with both India and also with
Mr.
Russia.
Ma, we've spoken for over an hour now, and you heard when Sean Rain was speaking. Sean was forthright in admitting that, look, Pakistan is a rogue state, and he can't figure out, the Chinese, business, for a lack of a better word, with Pakistan. What is your assessment of what Beijing does with Islamabad?
Well, in China, we always call it 24/7 relations, meaning that either side will pick up the phone immediately if other side call. I understand the position from India towards Pakistan, but I would also think that if China become now a peace brokers, actually break peace between Cambodia and Thai, and used to try to establish diplomatic relation between Saudi and Iran, how come? Why not using this opportunity as SCO, which both India and Pakistan is a member of it, to try to broker peace?
Mr. Ma, we don't need China to broker peace with between India and Pakistan. It is a bilateral issue, and I understand. Look. Are you saying Xi Jinping also wants a Nobel Peace Prize? You should focus on what you have,
because
it's a huge country. You have, a lot to look after.
Besides the BRICS, besides the G20, it's focused on regional security, right? And now we have said about anti-terrorism. So if it's a member state can keep perpetuate peace, that will be the biggest.
I understand in principle that Pakistan is a member state, but Mr. Ma, please appreciate when I tell you the truth about Pakistan. Pakistan harbors some of the world's most dreaded global terrorists. And you are saying that, we have a hotline kind of a relationship, 24/7, just pick up the phone, tell us we need more weapons because India has, pulverized us?
Definitely, China wants both India and Pakistan be on board.
Then that can't happen because, that is an illusion. Abhijit, why can't this happen? Could you please explain to Mr. Ma? And he's not from Harvard.
Look, the thing here is very simple. China has no role to play in no country, no third country. Forget China, not America, not Russia, not Spain. Nobody has a role to play in this. This is the unfinished business of partition. This is between India and Pakistan, and we're going to finish it on our own terms. Third-party intervention there is as much third-party intervention required on this as there is between China and Taiwan, or China and the Dalai Lama, or China and the Uyghurs. This is really a no-go zone, and I think it really shows you Chinese diplomatic clumsiness if they don't understand that. This is a Trump-level understanding of global affairs. I would pretty much say that if Xi Jinping made any such proposal to Modi today or tomorrow, that's going to be a very rapid departure of Modi from the summit right there.
Colonel Harrison, the Chinese now want to, do what Trump has been trying to do, mediate.
No, but first, for that, they will have to abandon, China-Pakistan economic corridor, because it passes through Indian territory, and then it ends up in Gwadar, and we are very much, sensitive about what happens in the Arabian Sea. So they will have to abandon that. Second, they will have to abandon their geopolitics of treating Pakistan as a counterpoise to India. So if they abandon these two, I don't know of what use Pakistan will remain to China. So this gentleman who is suggesting this, he should answer these questions. Are you ready to abandon China-Pakistan economic corridor? Are you ready to abandon your strategy of using Pakistan as a counterpoise to India? Otherwise, tell me, what is this iron brother, higher than mountains, deeper than sea? What it is based on? Is it based on cultural affinity, religious affinity? What affinity? So let's be very practical. We will do our approach to any country, and particularly China, will be completely transactional. वो ठीक है, वो people to people contact, histories, UN Sang came here, Faihan came here, those are things okay. But you abandon these two and then let's see. You don't have to even mediate after that, if you are trying to become another Trump.
Ambassador Dayal, what would you tell Mr. Ma here?
Well, I will tell him what Colonel Harrison Singh has said. That China's policy vis-a-vis Pakistan is something which impacts our geopolitical considerations. China supports Pakistan against India through various means, including, of course, providing military equipment, intelligence, and economic assistance. And this support is seen by us as part of a strategic alliance which is aimed at countering our influence in the region. So we feel that the China-Pakistan axis, which has been characterized by strong military and economic ties, poses a strong challenge for India. And in addition, we all know that following the Pahalgam terror attack, China moved swiftly to arm Pakistan, and the reports are suggesting that Beijing delivered advanced PL-15 air-to-air missiles to Pakistan within days of the Pahalgam terror strike. And in addition, China's support to Pakistan in the context of terrorist groups, which China is very protective towards. China has prevented the listing in the United Nations of some of these groups as terrorist organizations. All this will have to undergo a change because of the fact that it impacts our geopolitical interests.
Mr. Ma, do you want to revise what you said? Are you still convinced that Xi Jinping must retire with a Nobel Peace Prize?
China and the Chinese academia to understand India's position towards relation with Pakistan and with neighboring countries. But I would emphasize that this meeting is a meeting for peace. It wants to be friends with all the countries. And also, you just mentioned China's economic relation with Pakistan. That's true, but that's under this BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. And China also offer olive oil grants to India to want India also to participate in this project. And India is now a very important founding member of the AIIB, which is the Asia Investment Development Banks. So I would like I think from the Chinese perspective, it wants to bring all parties, no matter their bilateral relation, to join the Chinese initiative on global development.
Donald Trump has gone to bed. I'm sorry, this is his latest tweet. He says, good night. This is Truth Social. Abhijit, so much for being in the bed.
Well, good night to him. I'm sure he's having a very good night after these images, you see. It's the proverbial cookies and milk that Americans have before they go to bed. So good night to him.
Ambassador Dayal, what do you expect, the American press to write after this picture? And, this is only the beginning, because after this is the bilateral with Putin.
The American press is already writing in very clear terms how America needs to wake up and reassess its policies, particularly towards India, because the American press is categorically saying that Trump has driven India away and has broken a very, very assiduously built relationship. This relationship which existed between India and the United States till recently, till Trump's very negative policies came into effect. That policy had been built over decades, and it has been destroyed in a flash. So the American media is very, very critical of the Trump administration's policies, except, of course, certain sections which are avowedly pro-Republican and pro-Trump. But by and large, the media sections which assess the relationship and international affairs in a very impartial manner, they're of the view that the policies being followed by Trump towards India are negative and are hurting America's own interests.
What happens from here on, Colonel RSN? We can have this meeting, but Abhijit was on the show even yesterday, and he said, look, we can't trust the Chinese completely. And that is a sense, a lot of people would have you believe that, China, it's, good to have these photo opportunities, but you never know which way the Chinese turn.
Sir, if I may tell you that, diplomacy is all about, garnering benefits for your people at home. I mean, making their life better. So there will be area of convergences, there will be area of divergences. In the interest of the people, you minimize your vulnerabilities and maximize the opportunities. So that should be the approach as far as China is concerned, and that's what every nation does. So who is saying, nobody has asked anybody to abandon caution. No, you don't do that. Why talk about international relations? Even in personal relations, you don't abandon caution. Somewhere, some streak, the degree may vary, but that caution factor is always there. In international relations, this caution factor is very, very high. But let me tell you, asked a question as to what will happen, what will be the posturing of the Americans after this. Possibility, one, that as Swati said, that you never know. Trump may make a U-turn. I hope so. But given his age stage, you become very adamant at this stage. But yet, it is a possibility. And the second is that they will vilify you. The American press, you will be the new axis of evil. You would have replaced that Iran, China, that axis of evil, and you will be the new axis of evil. So one should be prepared for that. And let's see how the geopolitical, the global order evolves. Evolving it surely is. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Why I am saying so, NATO is under a strain. What they did was that they deprived Europe of the, energy that they were getting from Russia. And then after depriving it, they don't know how to fix it. So there are fissures within Europe. And first time, post World War II, we are seeing this kind of fissures and noise against the United States of America. Imagine Ukraine, what are the Americans doing? They are saying, no, we will provide weapons, we will provide, the wherewithal to fight. So they are asking the European countries that you kindly buy it from us and provide it to the Ukrainians. You think this kind of a, transactional relationship within the NATO, will it endure? So I see many changes taking place, and let's wait. Let's wait. But I can tell you one thing. I have absolutely no doubt that India will come out shining. Absolutely no doubt. And we can have another debate on this.
There's no debate, sir. I'm of the opinion that our dignified silence is serves us best. Abhijit?
We don't trash talk, like I said. The only people we trash talk are the Pakistanis, and even that we don't refer to them by name. They're not worthy of being named by our diplomats. I don't think our diplomats should pollute themselves by naming that country. That said, this is a classic Modi move. It's dignified. It's trolling without trolling. You're not getting down and dirty like the Americans are. Let's be very clear. Peter Navarro would not be saying these things had it not been coming from higher up. But look, there are. Let me also point to the rainbow at the end. Sergio Gore is coming to India. Sergio Gore is the new ambassador. There's a 50% chance, because he's got a direct line to Trump. I mean, this was the fellow that was crucial in getting Elon Musk out of cabinet, so he's clearly very powerful. Maybe he's coming here to do the emergency firefighting in a way that does not in any form or format compromise, the image of India having buckled down, and that India will not make that first call. India will not beg. Maybe it's a good thing, or maybe Sergio Gore is coming to, stir the pot even more and become a Robin Rafale part 2. For our younger viewers, Robin Rafale was this absolutely horrid creature whose husband was killed by the Pakistanis on a aircraft. And she still went on to become a very strong lobbyist for Pakistani interests, both in Delhi and in Washington. And she was officially appointed by the Americans to India. He could also be that. We don't know. The point is very simple. We are not going to do anything precipitate. We are not going to, harm our own interests by saying things, pointless Nehruvian posturing, which had nothing to back up. Those days are gone. I think the opposition in this country is doing something very evil, They're trying to create the political circumstances for Modi to say something harsh, unproductive, which will bring a backlash. Really, it's shameful. It's shameful. At some point, we need to, put our Indian collective consciousness over what is, government and what is opposition. But it's really pathetic.
Ambassador Dayal, quickly before I bring in Swati, isn't that the correct approach?
Well, of course, that is the approach which Prime Minister has been taking, but at the same time, his actions speak louder than his words. He is making policy decisions which are sending across a message to the United States. Of course, I must say that the recent improvements in the India-China relations should be viewed as a calculated and tactical détente. And while dialogue has resumed on issues like trade and people-to-people exchanges, deeper strategic and security cooperation may be very difficult. In fact, it appears unlikely, particularly because the trust deficit runs deep and India views China with suspicion after the 2020 border clashes. So while driven by a shared interest in responding to a shifting US foreign policy, the deep structural competition and distrust mean that a fundamental realignment of relations between India and China may not yet be on the horizon. Nonetheless, the message has gone across to the United States that India is recalibrating relations with other countries.
Okay, Swati Joshi is back with us live from Tianjin. Swati, Prime Minister Modi has delivered his opening remarks. We're waiting for the audio. We have, we can, we have the video feed. We don't quite have the audio yet. But let's focus on what Xi Jinping said, calling out the bully behavior. There's only one bully in the world right now.
Absolutely, and even before the SCO Summit, Pranesh, China was the only country that very clearly came out in support of India and said that you have to call out the bully, you have to stand up to the bully, otherwise this behavior is going to continue. Before coming to the SCO Summit, Vladimir Putin reiterated the same thing. So you have that commitment from China and Russia at this point of time as far as tariff is concerned. Now, we are looking at all these visuals of, all the three leaders shaking hands, talking to each other, warm smiles on their faces. There's one more video which has come to fore where you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin holding hands, walking towards Xi Jinping. And in fact, the Russian media has put out a image of these three leaders standing in one frame, and they've put it out on the social media. Their caption is, "The future is here." And they're inviting thoughts of people on that particular thread, asking, what do you think is Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking about? The one picture in which, the Prime Minister is seen to be doing this. So Russian media thinks the Prime Minister is saying the future is here. They want to know what people think about that particular image. That's the kind of sentiment and that's the kind of build-up before the bilateral begins between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. There are common concerns. I'd just like to reiterate and rather quote what the Foreign Secretary said yesterday in the briefing. He said insurance policy for the bilateral talks or the bilateral relations between India and China is peace and tranquility on the border areas. That is our insurance policy. We know that we've had the complex past. We know the history of India and China, how there's cooperation and confrontation happening at the same time. But you'll have to look ahead, you'll have to move forward, while of course treading very cautiously, keeping in mind our mutual concerns. Only then perhaps, if not a revival of the RIC, you're looking at a strong bond. You're looking at these three nations moving ahead shoulder to shoulder with some sort of an authority that perhaps will ensure that a message is sent to West that, you cannot bully us anymore because the Eurasia is standing up to you.
You're right, and Abhijit spoke about Robin Ruffle and that anecdote, and who can forget the quote that Kashmir is still a disputed territory for us. So he's right when he says that there will be more provocation thrown at India, and our dignified silence poised really in dealing with a bully like Trump and his administration should hold our country in good stead. We're taking a short break, viewers. We're all waiting for the Prime Minister Modi's opening remarks at the SCO Summit and also the big-ticket bilateral where Modi and Putin will have a one-on-one conversation.